Belcher?
Present.
Thank you. Mr. Feldman has sent regrets. Ms. Mason?
With the present.
Thank you. Ms. Master Giuseppe?
Present.
Thank you. Mr. Moreau has sent regrets. Ms. Pavone? Ms. Pavone? Ms. Pavone? Ms. Seymour?
Present.
Thank you. We have quorum. Moving on to the next item, which is going to be approval of the agenda. Would someone like to make a motion to approve the agenda? Ms. Benvenuto?
I would like to make a motion to make an amendment to the agenda.
Certainly, and your amendment is?
I would like to add an item to get a staff update for the MEDDISP at St. Matthews, and to hear delegations to any who wish to speak.
Thank you. So that's a motion to add 7.5 school board update for MEDD classes at St. Matthews. And also item 8A, a delegation for parents from St. Matthews who are here tonight to delegate. Can I get a seconder for that amendment, Mr. Belcher?
Yeah, I second it.
Thank you. Any discussion on the amendment? So we only need one vote, right, recording secretary, since we just need to. Yes, that's right. So on the vote for the agenda as amended, chair is in favor. Mr. Belcher? Mr. Belcher, are you in favor?
Yes, I'm in favor.
Thank you.
I just had another question though, sorry.
You had a question?
Yeah, once we finish with this part of the amendment, I'd like to add a question to the agenda that was discussed last month.
Yeah, right. So I've already verified with Executive Superintendent Fernandez that she has your response for your question from your inquiry last month.
Okay, so can we add something to the agenda to discuss that today?
I don't know that we have to actually add it. I believe she's going to provide a response at some point. Do you need a placeholder? Superintendent Fernandez, do you need a placeholder for that?
So through you, Mr. Chair, yes, I can respond back to the question that was asked last month.
Do you want it in a placeholder, or do you want to do it through the superintendent's update?
We can add it to the superintendent's update.
Okay, perfect. So we don't need a placeholder, Mr. Belcher.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay.
What are you doing?
So, Ms. Mason, are you in favor on the amended agenda?
In favor.
Thank you. Ms. Master Giuseppe?
In favor.
Thank you. Ms. Seymour?
In favor.
Thank you. Did I miss anybody? No, very good. Okay, so the agenda is amended. Brings us to item number 6 in the agenda, declarations of interest. Are there any items in this evening's agenda for which any member on the committee would like to declare interest? Second call for declaration of interest. Third call. For the record, none were stated. Item 7, approval and signing of the minutes of the meeting held March 4th, 2006, found on pages 1 through 8. Could I get a motion to approve and sign minutes? Ms. Benvenuto, thank you. And the seconder?
Lori, I'll second it.
Thank you, Lori. Anybody have any questions on the minutes? No? Very good. Which brings us to item number 7.5, which is the MEDD update from board. With that, I'll hand the floor over to Superintendent.
Through you, Mr. Chair, thank you very much for this opportunity to speak to this question. I know we have a lot of individuals who are gathered here this evening looking for some information, and we're happy to provide this update as part of the agenda. So first of all, we want to be clear that the program that we're discussing is a multiple exceptionality developmental disability intensive support program. Right now that program is being housed at St. Matthew's School, and it is among many schools across our system that have this specialized program. This program is specifically in place for students with the exceptionalities that's described, and it is for students who have a placement of special education class with partial integration or special education class full-time. So we want to advise, firstly, that the program is not being discontinued. This program is not being discontinued at the St. Matthew's site or at any other or across the system, that we continue to offer this program for our students. However, starting this September, the specific class that is located at St. Matthew's will relocate to St. Fidelis. This is a brand new school building that includes a very specific purpose-built classroom for students in this type of program. It is called an MEDD suite. It is modern, it is accessible, and it has been built with this community of students in mind. The program there will offer the same in terms of staffing. So we'll have a qualified special education teacher who will be the lead of the program. We will have support staff, just as we do presently at the St. Matthew's site. These would be educational assistants or CYWs, child and youth workers. We will have resources and programmings that are related to the needs of the students as documented in their individual education plans. We will continue to have central support staff available to support the programming and the teaching staff around consultations that they may have related to communication, program design, special equipment that might need to be used in the classroom, etc. So all of the same services, the same qualified staff, but what we do have is a new facility. And we do understand, and we know it's our responsibility as well, to work with families to ensure that when there is a transition, and transitions for everyone can be challenging, it is change. Change can be good and exciting, but it can also create some angst and some concerns. So we will be working with families. Change in terms of a transition is part of our responsibilities to students who have individual education plans, and we will work with the families around what that change might look like and how we can support individual students. Because we know for some students, for example, it might be a good idea to see the new location. For other students, it might be creating a social story about an anticipated change. For some families, the parents may want to see the site. And these are things that we do for our families across the system when we are moving students from one location to another or introducing them to a new program. So we are committed to ensure that those opportunities are available. We have communication that has gone out to the families at St. Matthew, advising them of the change. There will be a follow-up phone call by the principal tomorrow. Part of that phone call may be to answer any questions that are pending immediately. The other part of the phone call will be to offer a case conference meeting. So that's where we would have school staff as well as any central staff who may be able to speak to any of the transition needs or respond to any of the questions. They will be available at that meeting. It will be a documented meeting, and parents can ask questions, and we can make any arrangements for next steps. We do have a number of months to prepare for the transition, and as always, we work with families, we listen to their concerns and their questions, and we want to make sure that we are working alongside them to prepare for this transition. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Superintendent Meehan. Now, committee members, we're going to receive that, but we're not going to ask questions on it because the next thing we're going to do is move into delegation. So if I could get a motion of receipt of superintendent's update. Thank you, Ms. Benvenuto. And if I could get a seconder.
Lori, I'll do it.
Thank you, Lori. Thank you, Ms. Master Giuseppe. Okay, so on the motion of receipt of this current update we just received, the chair is in favor. Mr. Belcher? Mr. Belcher?
Yes, in favor, sorry.
You're in favor? Thank you. Ms. Benvenuto?
In favor?
Thank you. Ms. Mason?
In favor.
Thank you. Ms. Pastor Giuseppe?
In favor.
Thank you. And Ms. Seymour?
In favor.
Thank you. And again, committee members, I tell you to reserve your questions you may have for Superintendent Ian on that update or after the delegation. So at this point in time, we're going to go into delegation, and for the clock timers, it's going to be 3 minutes per delegate, and we have 6 delegates listed. So I'm going to call the first delegate. That would be Nicole Ribello, who is a parent of a student at St. Matthew's that is in the MEDT program.
Hello, and thank you for hearing me today. This is my first time doing something like this, so please excuse me if, I may be going a little bit out of what the normal is. I do appreciate what you said, however, I do not think that much of it is true. With that being said, St. Fidelis, the new school built, that was built earlier this year. St. Matthew's, we're getting to the end of the school year, and we did not hear about this change. I live very close to St. Matthew's. I also work close to St. Matthew's. My daughter also attends school at St. Nicholas, which is very close to St. Matthew's. So these are all very big concerns for me that I'm going to have to go out of my way. My son is in an after-school program at St. Nicholas of Bari, which is less than a 5-minute drive from the school that he's currently at, St. Matthew's, and he is taking a bus. They do have a harness on him. He can get out of the harness and does run freely on the bus. Bus driver is not allowed to touch him, so she'll stop and try and get him back in. So I am concerned with the bus taking him anywhere from 30 minutes to 35 minutes away from where I live, knowing that nobody can actually help him on the bus. So that's just one thing I wanted to add there. I do have other concerns as to why we were not told this a lot sooner. If I did not bring the media attention to the school today, I don't believe that we would have received a letter at the end of the day today, which we did at about 3:08. I also believe that the St. Matthew's program that is running there is perfectly fine the way it is. I don't think there's need for change. I think that they're doing excellent, and if anything, they deserve more funding. I don't think that making a new program far from the school and saying that our kids need to travel this distance is fair to them. I think that this is making things a lot more challenging for us parents. A lot of this I did say earlier today, but I'm happy to reiterate this. My son Adriano is nonverbal, has autism and ADHD, has a lot of high needs and needs supervision 24/7. He cannot be left alone. He is very happy at St. Matthew's, has a lot of support, an amazing teacher and amazing staff there. He sometimes cries to come home because he prefers to stay at school. That is how much this program has helped my son. I believe that taking this program away from my son, as well as his peers, will really backtrack him. He's been doing so great this year. If you were to speak to his teachers in kindergarten versus his teacher now, you would see how great he's been doing. And I want to know how the school will handle this if my son starts to digress. I don't have him in any programming. I don't have access to OAP funding at this time, and he does have extremely high needs. I will be happy to be a part of these meetings every month going forward, and I would really appreciate answers to this. I only have 10 seconds left, so I really want to say I would love for Adriano to stay at St. Matthew's, keep the program open, think of the children. I'm here for my son and his friends.
Thank you very much for that. So the next delegate is Kevin Castillo, parent from St. Matthew's MEDT. Parent of a student in the MEDT program,
And my husband, Manuel, he won't speak, it would be just,
oh, he's supportive.
he's supporting,
I like that. Okay,
yeah.
very good. You have 3 minutes.
Okay, thank you for the time. Similarly to Nicole, my son Nicholas attends the Matthews MEDD program. Nico's 10, he is autistic, has an intellectual disability, and is epileptic. For Nico, St. Matthews will be his 3rd school already. His JK and SK
years were affected by the COVID-19 pandemic, so Nico did not have a proper introduction to education because of that. Then our homeschool, we started at James Colnan, but very soon he was identified as a child that needed extra support, and the MEDD program was suggested for him. We waited 6 months for that to find a proper space for him. And St. Matthew's he has been at St. Matthew's since the second half of grade 1. He had school aversion, he had anxiety, and it took him about a year and a half for him to be happy in this space. I cannot even imagine what a new transition will be. Another 2 years of him not liking his new space, a new teacher, because it doesn't seem like we will have the same teacher. New teacher, new support team, and new community. Right now, Nico is quite popular in the St. Matthew's community. Everybody knows him, everybody makes sure he's safe. Safety is quite a concern for us. Nico's nonverbal, so we don't know, he is not able to tell anybody even his name, my phone number. He's not able to communicate that. For us, like having him on the bus is also not possible. He's not used to it, he's never done it. We live close to St. Matthew's, so I drive him there, I pick him up, and my work is closer to St. Matthew's than it will be to San Fidelis, so my job stability is also going to be affected by this change. So we're just here to plead that please reconsider closing the program. St. Matthew's is our home. We fully trust the team there. We have absolutely no issues with the building or the facilities or anything that could have been reviewed that doesn't make it eligible to have the program there anymore. We mostly care about, you know, the safety, the teaching, and the care that our kid is getting there. And this is why we're here today, to make our voices be heard and for you to have a little bit of understanding of what the parents will be going through if this change happens. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. The next delegate is Diane Dice. And Diane is a parent of a student at St. Matthew's in the MEDD program as well.
Hi, how are you? Good evening. Maybe some of you have seen my emails this weekend. I've been going off with emails. My daughter is Mia. She's in grade 3. She's been at St. Matthew's since kindergarten. She loves this school. Since the beginning she went to this school, she was always scared to go to school. It's life-changing for her. These teachers are amazing for her. You guys don't understand what you guys are putting us through. If you take these kids away from the school, sorry. As parents, we have to fight for these kids because these kids cannot talk and fight for it. You guys are changing to another school that is far from where they are now. They cannot go on the bus, okay? We already struggle with work because half of us have to not even work to provide for them. And now all of this change, it's too much. Like, I don't understand, the school's fine. They have a perfect classroom. They have amazing teachers, like family to these kids. They do things beyond what they have to do for these kids, and this is all happening. Like, I don't understand. We don't need a brand new school. We need where they have to stay, where they know how they love and teachers care about them. They have amazing principal who cares about them, these teachers. Like, I'm sorry, but you guys need to think about these kids first. It's not important about a brand new school. It's important about these kids, what they want. And us parents, we're gonna stand up and we're gonna fight to the end. I'm sorry, but this is not allowed. This is unacceptable. Because they're not a piece of, normal kids are a box. You can just toss them whatever you want to put them. It doesn't work like that. These kids are comfortable where they are. And I think if you guys had kids like this, I'm sorry to say, you guys would do the same thing that we're doing here tonight, fighting for them. And I'm very disappointed with the school board. Only today we know about this. Like, we're in April, school's almost done in June. These kids need time. This is not just, here you go, let's change it. Like, come on. What kind of school board is working here? Like, I don't understand. This is nonsense. I'm sorry. And I'm gonna talk quickly fast. We have a parent who couldn't make it today, is a single father. His wife just passed away with cancer a couple months ago, has 2 little girls in his school. one in kindergarten, one in his classroom. It's like he's asking you guys, what is he supposed to tell his daughter? They're spreading, one's saying to St. Matthews, the other one's going to the other school. What's going to happen with his daughter? She can't go on the bus. She can't get it. Her sister needs, to comfort her. She's not there to comfort her. Like, this is a big change for this child who just lost her mother. Like, what's the compassion here? And you guys seen my emails. I said it this weekend. Like, have some compassion for these kids. Please.
Thank you. The next one I have is Chanel Rodriguez, I believe. And that would be a parent St. Matthew's MEDD program. You can take that mic down a little bit if you want.
Oh, hi.
There you go. And I just want to remind you, you're speaking to me.
Yeah, super nervous.
Thank you.
My name's Chanel. My son Julian has been attending the MED program at St. Matthew's for a little over a year now, just shy of 2 years actually. We went through a lot of suffering and challenges to get him into this program. The school board required at least 1 to 2 years of evidence in order for him to reach criteria to be eligible to be in this classroom. So we went through a lot of very hard, challenging, and scary times just to get him in there. Fast forward to today, he's super happy. He feels extremely safe. He's loved by these teachers like they treat them as if they're their own children. And it's evident that the support that is provided there is providing evident progress, amongst not just Julian, but the rest of his peers in this classroom. We're really concerned that the school board is not able to provide support to special needs children the same way that it is done in St. Matthew's. We're not understanding, we would like answers as to why St. Matthew's. So why the MEDD program at St. Matthew's? There's already a limited availability in terms of accessing these programs. Why St. Matthew's? I understand that they were under review to see if maybe there were some red flags, for lack of better words, that would support their decision in closing down this program. And from real life experiences, there are no issues there. They're progressing, they're happy, they're safe. There's a lot of concerns in terms of how they can digress from this change. It will impose serious risk. If everyone here understands special needs, then you would clearly understand that this isn't just a challenge, it is something that is imposing risk on their well-being and their life, right? My son elopes from school. Sorry, correction, not from school. There was a previous program that he was in that he eloped from. So eloping behaviors, there was a child 2 years ago in a school at Ajax that went missing for 35 minutes. Why? Because there's a lack of support. Is there a guarantee, that there will be enough support that our children will be safe? In terms of being on school buses, right? They're not trained to support children when maybe a meltdown is happening or there's a lack of understanding for them and they lash out in the only way they know how to because they're nonverbal, which again is why we're here to advocate for them. Just last week, my son was on the bus and he was throwing himself all over the bus. We don't know why. He can't express that to us, right? But the most important thing is that there's no one there to support him in that. So we're now expected to get our children onto a bus for 20 to 30 minutes to go to this school, this new program. And it's like we're risking their life every day doing that. We're gonna live in fear. It's not right. St. Matthew's MED should stay open.
Thank you for that. The next delegate is Natasha Ortiz, also Rio, another parent. So it says parent support MEDD program. So I'm not exactly sure if that means you're a parent with a
Hi.
student at the school or?
No, I am a family friend to a parent.
Okay.
So a lot of my questions were why St. Matthew's and why this program? 10 kids and their families, I've spoken to some, are being affected, yet all 10 parents are happy and very much content with this program.
If I could get you just a little closer to the microphone.
Sorry.
That's okay.
So 10 kids and their families are being affected, yet all 10 parents are happy not only with the program, but with the staff in the program. A question that we want to know is, are the staff moving as well to this new facility? Some of the disabilities children have are severe and can impose life-threatening issues, like Chanel just explained with her son, that with strangers, he's gonna run off. That's a concern. If they get moved, will parents get the funding to be able to get their children to school safely if they cannot be on the bus for 30 to 34 minutes? That's a long drive. Why do most vulnerable children get targeted? Unless you have a disabled child or work closely with one, you can't really understand these beautiful special children. Please reconsider closing this program. A question I have also is, why does the paperwork the parents got say closed and not moved? And something I also want to note that everybody else has is, these children are close to home. Why move them further? It's not only affecting the child, but the whole families. It's families, parents, aunts and uncles, because now these children are gonna digress. And it takes years for rapport to build with these teachers and these students. What about them? What about their mental health? Just because they can't verbally speak, that doesn't mean they don't matter. So please reconsider.
Thank you very much for that. The last delegate I have listed is Ruth Garcia Sanchez, a parent of a student in the MEDD program at St. Matthews.
Hi, my name is Ruth. My daughter is April. I don't speak English. I need
A translator.
Interpreter? Okay.
Yes. Sorry. So she is concerned about the closure of the classroom at St. Matthews. She came from Mexico 4 years ago. Abril did not speak Spanish. She didn't speak English. Since joining the class, Abril has been able to develop her language. She speaks more English than Spanish, but it seems that St. Matthews has done a great job at helping Abril develop her communication skills. She's able to read and write and count, and the St. Matthews team has treated her as family. They live very close to the school, and she gets support from her classmates. Her brothers are in the school as well and are able to help out with Abril whenever she's having a crisis. Taking Abril from this environment will cause a lot of regression. It will cause a lot of issues with her mental health, and it will also cause a lot of problems at home because the distance of the new school is also problematic for the mom to keep her job. Thank you.
Gracias. Okay, so that's our last delegate on this item. So if I get a motion to receive the delegation of whole, Ms. Benvenuto, thank you, and a seconder.
Lori Alderman.
Ms. Master, a second, thank you. Okay, I'll take speakers on the committee. Who would like to speak first? We're going to ask questions. We have to ask questions. Delegation can't ask the questions. We have to ask. Okay. Okay, Mr. Belcher, you're first.
I just had a question. Like, it seems to be that there's quite a lot of students affected by this change. How much is the board saving by doing this change? I get that they're trying to cut down with budget, so can we get some logistics and is there any way to transfer the Fidelis students to the to the school that's being affected?
So the question is, how much money is the board saving on this change? Okay. Superintendent Ian?
Through you, Mr. Chair. I want to be clear that this is not a funding or budget saving measure. This is not a move that was based on any type of budgetary decision. So there's not a quantitative savings to speak to, nor expenditures to speak to. We are looking at the relocation of the same program with the same services to students, including any necessary transportation.
Thank you, Superintendent Meehan. Mr. Belcher?
Okay, so I'm just trying to figure out why this is happening then. Can you explain that a little bit better?
Okay, you want to know the reasoning behind it. Okay, Superintendent Meehan?
Through you, Mr. Chair. Annually, we look at all of our locations and facilities, and we're always looking for the best circumstances for the students that we can offer to address their needs. As part of that review, we have made a commitment as a board to continue to have these intensive support programs to the point that there's a facility built specifically for that purpose. And the community that we would like to serve through that location is the St. Matthew community. So that is why the program, all of the students are, there's an opportunity for them to move to that location, and all of the programming that I am hearing very, very positive things about, that continues to be the commitment of the board, that we will focus on meeting the needs of these students. It is simply the new location that was purposefully built. It is a suite dedicated for students who have these specific needs and are in a specialized intensive support program.
Thank you, Superintendent Meehan. Mr. Belcher?
Okay, so from what I'm understanding from these parents at the delegation, that the distance and the bus, the logistics wise, hasn't been looked into. So is there a way to backtrack and just have these students still stay at the same school that they're at and have another program instead and switch it up instead of having this new building?
Okay, I'll hand it up. So, Executive Superintendent Fernandez?
Sure. Through you, Mr. Chair, so appreciate the question always, and definitely the delegations that have taken place today. As Ms. Meehan had said, we do look at purpose-built classrooms to help support our students. And every time we do build a program, we're always looking at ensuring that there is a suite, an MEDD suite in any of our new schools, to make sure that we're keeping up to date in terms of the resources that we have to serve students in the communities. Having heard today's delegations, one of the things that we are looking at is perhaps maybe doing a second look and reviewing how we're supporting this particular community, the students in that community, and then if there is any modifications to that, then looking at communicating that out in the future. Again, there is usually communication that takes place with the families individually. As Superintendent already discussed, the process of communication is something that happens on an ongoing basis in terms of reaching out to students and allowing the families to understand that there is going to be a change. The way that it was communicated out perhaps did not meet what we would expect of ourselves in terms of being able to provide that support in sort of a more proactive manner. And so how the information became available may not have been the best way. And again, we'll take full responsibility for that. However, we do want to make sure that we're making the right decisions. So I know this came up as a part of a dialogue, and there's lots of dialogues going on, but this is not a done deal completely at this point. So we will take this away, we will be able to review and determine what our next steps may be, but we will need some time to do that.
Thank you, Executive Superintendent Fernandez. Mr. Belcher?
Thank you, that's it for me. Yeah, that's my last question, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Masters-Giuseppe.
Through you, Mr. Chair. I normally don't open my mouth very much, but why fix something that was not broke? Like, if you are a parent of a special needs kid, you'll understand what these parents are going through. I went through the same thing with my son, and you're telling them that it's going to be a 30 to 35 minute bus ride. We're talking Toronto, we're talking construction, we're talking traffic jams. It's going to be far more than 30 minutes. Secondly, is there going to be anybody on the bus to support these kids? Is what I'd like to know. Besides the bus driver, who I understand cannot touch the kids, I understand that. Is there going to be an assistant on the bus to help with these children? 30 minutes is a very long time.
Thank you, Ms. Master-Giuseppe. Superintendent Meehan, would you have any feedback on the bus accommodation?
So through you, Mr. Chair, each situation, every time that we do have students on the bus, it's something that we review and that we support as needed based on the student profile, based on behaviors that we're seeing on buses, based on the needs that are required to be accommodated, etc. So it's never taken for granted that it's not done without the proper supports that are due to the student. In other words, again, we can't make a blanket statement that every student gets support. That's not the way that it works, but it is a commitment to always review. And I know Superintendent Meehan always reviews where the needs are, and if things are bubbling up, then it becomes part of the conversation that is ongoing, and that helps to always support the student needs that happen to surface. I'm going to pass it to Ms. Meehan for any other.
So not to jump on Ms. Master-Giuseppe's question, but to ask, just for clarification for some of the parents that are in the room, what might some of the examples of accommodation look like if their child was one who might need extra support to accomplish busing? What would that, like, there must be examples that are already in use that we could understand.
Through you, Mr. Chair, some examples related to busing. So we have buses that families would probably be familiar with, and that would be a standard large school bus that buses students who may meet that criteria for busing. So that's a large school bus. We have smaller school buses. These are typically used for busing students to our intensive support programs. They're much smaller in size, and the students are able to be supported on those buses. On occasion, we have students who may have a physical disability, and they may require a specific bus that is designed to support a student perhaps who makes use of a wheelchair, and that kind of transportation is provided. Sometimes none of those are good options for a student, or they're a good option, but we might need some extra security in terms of how the student is protected within the bus. And we review each case, and it might be that we use a special seatbelt in some cases, there might be a special harness in some cases, and where those are not working, we may also look at, is there another kind of vehicle? So there are some vans, for example, that can be used, and in a particular van, again, the way the van is situated, it allows for the student to be safely transported. So there are many different options. Each one is individually student-based, and we do have a process for reviewing that. We are in communication with the transportation department, and when things are escalating, we are working in collaboration with them. And also, the transportation department has safety officers that help with that planning and feedback and working with schools and parents about how students are put on the bus and taken off the bus. That's part of our planning as well. When the students arrive at school, that is a safe handoff to the school staff, and also when placing students on the bus, that staff are trained to do so safely. On very rare occasions, sometimes there is a significant medical need that a student has, where in school they are provided with those specialized health supports. If that is required during transportation, we ensure that those health supports are there. So it is really, we start off with a standard approach. However, it is customizable to individual student needs.
Thank you, Superintendent Meehan. Back to you, Ms. Master-Giuseppe.
So you say it's customized to each student's needs, and that's going to be probably determined over the first few weeks of school. But these kids are can't wait for the first few weeks of school. They're going to need it from day one. And if you keep changing people that are on the bus, that's going to affect them too, because it's another change. I just don't understand why the families were not consulted before this even started the construction aspect of saying, hey, we're going to be building this new suite. There's a chance in a year that you guys are going to be moving to this new school. It gives the parent at least a year to start the process of transitioning the child, little by little each day. I just can't believe how this is working out, because what we've learned over the years, we've learned nothing over the years. I did this 15 years ago with my kids, and now they're still doing it. You're changing stuff that shouldn't be changed. These kids are vulnerable in more ways than you'll ever know.
Thank you, Ms. Masters-Osepi. Thanks for that. I don't believe there wasn't a question in that, right? That last bit was feedback. So Ms. Benjamin, go ahead.
Through you, Mr. Chair, if this program does get switched to the new location, will the teachers and program staff also be moving there?
Thank you, Ms. Benvenuto. Superintendent Meehan?
Through you, Mr. Chair. The staffing process is distinct from the relocation of the program. So if I could just broadly explain the staffing. When there is a change at a school, that can happen even when there isn't a change of location. So for example, there's a process for staffing where teachers, based on qualifications, etc., and the staffing process is followed, that are placed in particular positions. So even from year to year in the same school, it is the case that there could be a different teacher. There are many factors that play into that, but it is a very prescribed process that is distinct from the special services program. These programs are staffed from staff members who are assigned to the school. These are not centrally staffed programs where we move the staff with the students, but rather each year it is from the local school staff that the teacher is assigned. Similarly, the support staff is from the local school staff that the supports are in place for the students as per their needs. So it is not the case of moving staff, and even from year to year, it is not a guarantee of always having the same teacher. Just as a teacher may teach grade 2 one year, and you might be anticipating that grade 2 teacher, and then find out actually you're teaching grade 5 next year. It follows the same process for special education. However, I do want to take the opportunity to share that the teachers for all of our programs are special education qualified, and I really would like to commend our teaching staff who have a significant interest, whether they're actually teaching a special education program or not. We have a number of our staff who do take this additional qualifications. There's a Part 1, Part 2, and Specialist, and so we have many of our regular classroom teachers who are also special education qualified. We ensure that that is in place, and we have, through some ministry funding, we are actually providing support for teachers who show that interest to take these additional qualifications courses.
Thank you, Superintendent Meehan. Ms. Benvenuto?
Thank you. I appreciate that there's a process and that teachers can change from year to year. In this specific case, where we know that a transition could be detrimental to learning for these children, is there other considerations for this specific instance where teachers and support staff could be moved with these children?
Thank you, Ms. Benvenuto. Executive Superintendent Fernandez.
So thank you for the question, through you, Mr. Chair. The answer is we would still have to follow the collective agreement process. That means that we still have to follow whatever process we usually use for staffing. So we can't make an exception to that. We would still have to follow what's in place. The consideration always is looking at ensuring that all of the staff who are in these programs always are qualified and are able to provide the programming. So the idea of moving a teacher, we don't have the ability to do that as you're asking.
Thank you, Executive Superintendent Fernandez. Ms. Benvenuto?
I also had questions about so this new room at St. Fidelis, what does it have for these children? Everyone came up, they spoke about their children having different needs. So what are they going to be offered in this room that is different from what they have now?
Thank you, Ms. Benvenuto. Superintendent Meehan?
Through you, Mr. Chair. Chair. So with respect to the individual student needs, we know some of that comes in terms of some of the technology that they have access to, or specific furniture that they require, or facilities to help with toileting, etc. So any of those specialized pieces of equipment, etc., they will be available at the new site. The room, again, in terms of the accessibility, any new build, unlike buildings that we have that were built historically in the city in different times, any of our new buildings, not just the classroom itself, but the whole building has to be built with accessibility in mind. So in that sense, the whole building is an inclusive environment, but to be assured that the classroom will be equipped with all of the individualized equipment as well as general classroom equipment and resources that would be available for the students.
Thank you, Superintendent Ian. Ms. Benvenuto.
Thank you. I understand that the new building will have these updated accessibility features. However, it doesn't sound like that was an issue before. So I'm wondering what makes the classroom new, what makes it different for these kids, why would parents want to move their children? What is the classroom offering that they don't already have?
Thank you, Ms. Benvenuto. Superintendent Ian.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I think important to share this evening is that your question is well taken, as well as all of the comments that have come from the delegates around individual students, individual families, and individual needs. So we believe that the facility will address all of those, as well as the transition planning. However, we are also giving serious consideration to what we have heard this evening so that we can address those needs appropriately and understand where the families are responding to specific concerns and highlighting them. We are listening, we have heard them, and we want to make sure that our move forward plan addresses those concerns.
Thank you, Superintendent Ian. Ms. Benvenuto.
Thank you. Given that there will be a review process, what will that look like, and will it include any parent feedback beyond just today? Will it include parent consultation?
Thank you, Ms. Benvenuto. Whoever.
So through you, Mr. Chair, we're tag teaming here today. So the answer is yes, we will be reaching out, as Superintendent Ian already mentioned, that we will be reaching out to families. So there will be some dialogue involved in terms of understanding the family situation. We did hear some of it today, but these are not all the families, so there will be that ongoing conversation. I'm pretty sure that Ms. Bean already spoke to principal reaching out as well. So we will have a look at that, and we will use that information to help determine what our next steps will be.
Thank you, Superintendent Fernandez. Ms. Benvenuto.
Yes, that's all my questions.
Thank you, Ms. Benvenuto. Are there any further speakers on the delegation topic? Last call for speakers. Okay, very well. The motion on the floor right now is a motion of receipt of the delegation. And on that, the chair is in favor. Mr. Belcher? Mr. Belcher?
Sorry, what was the question?
In favor of the receipt of the delegation.
Yes, in favor.
Thank you. Ms. Benvenuto?
In favor?
Thank you. Ms. Mason?
In favor.
Thank you. Ms. Master Giuseppe?
In favor.
Thank you. And Ms. Seymour?
In favor.
Thank you. So to the delegation, this is really tough stuff. We understand. A little background on SEAC. All of the members you see that typically on the SEAC are parents just like you who've had educational experience in the school board, and they thought that they might be able to make a difference by sitting on a SEAC. And this is what we do every meeting, is we try to bring what we consider to be concerns for our areas of expertise, whichever association we might represent on the committee, and we try to bring fulsome recommendations to the school board to enhance the educational experience for special education students. In this case, the school board thinks they have a solution that would provide something better. You've brought a great argument today, and they're going to reconsider, and they're going to communicate with all of you. So your delegation tonight was very effective. And so as a committee, we applaud you. Thank you very much for your opportunity. And thanks to staff for having an open mind and listening. And with that, we'll move on to the next topic. You're obviously welcome to stay for the rest. We have a superintendent's update that's coming up that may contain information that you might find interesting. So we invite you to stay. So it brings us to item number 9 in this evening's agenda, which is members' statements. Do any of the committee members have a statement they would like to present this evening? Second call for member statements. Last call for member statements. Okay, no member statements this evening. Item 10, presentations for which none are listed this evening. Item 11, notices of motion for which none are listed this evening. Item 12, consent and review. And on consent and review, we have a number of things to look at. The first being item 13A, and again, the reminder is any items that's not held will be received. So item 13A, which is the draft Special Education Advisory Committee's annual calendar, 2025-2026, found on pages 9 through 12. Would anyone like to hold that item? Second call to hold. Last call to hold. Not held. Item 13B, our Special Education Plan Review for April 2026, found on pages 13 through 34. The sections for discussion, if we so choose this evening, are Section 15, Educational and Other Assessments, Section 16, Coordination of Services with other ministries or agencies. Item 17, Specialized Health Support Services, and then item 18A, Staff Development, and 18B, Professional Learning Plan. So we'll go through them one at a time. Would someone like to hold Section 15 for discussion this evening, Educational and Other Assessments? Ms. Benvenuto? Thank you. Item 16, Section 16, Coordination of Services with other ministries or agencies. Would anyone like to hold that section for discussion? Second call to hold. Last call to hold. Held. And Section 17, Specialized Health Support Services. Would anyone like to hold that section for discussion? Second call to hold. Third call to hold, not held. Which brings us to Section 18A, Staff Development. Would anyone like to hold that section for discussion this evening? Mr. Belcher? Which brings us to item 18B, Professional Learning Plan. Would anyone like to hold that item this evening? Second call to hold. Third call to hold. Mr. Belcher? Okay. Which brings us to item 14, reports of officials for information by the board or other committees. Item 14A, Special Services Superintendent Update for April 2026. On pages 35 to 37, who would like to hold that item? Ms. Benvenuto, thank you. Okay, which brings us to the other items in the agenda. Item 15, considerations of motion for which previous notice has been given and none are listed. Unfinished business, none listed. Matters referred or deferred to the committee by the board or other committees, none are listed. No other committees are meeting. 18, listed communications, none are listed. Association reports, none are listed, and item 20, inquiries, for which we have none this evening. Item 21, pending list, for which we have none listed. On consent and review, items not held 13A, 13B, Section 16, and Section 17 not held. Who would like to make the motion to receive those 3 items? Ms. Benvenuto, thank you. Seconded by?
Michelle.
Ms. Belchor, thank you. Any discussion? Okay, on the items not held to be received, the chair is in favor. Ms. Belchor?
In favor.
Thank you. Ms. Benvenuto?
In favor?
Thank you. Ms. Mason?
In favor.
Thank you. Ms. Masters Giuseppe?
In favor.
Thank you. Ms. Seymour?
In favor.
Thank you. Okay, so moving on, 13B, Special Education Plan Review, sections we've held, Section 15, Educational and Other Assessments held by Ms. Benvenuto. So Ms. Benvenuto.
I had a question under the communication of results to parents. In here, it says that they talk about the results of an assessment. If the parent has difficulty communicating in English or an interpreter is provided, a written report is prepared for inclusion in the OSR. I'm wondering why it says parents generally receive a copy of this report. It's my understanding that parents should be receiving all copies of all reports.
So which page and paragraph is that?
So it's page 18, and it's the paragraph under communication of results to parents.
Thank you. Superintendent Meehan?
Through you, Mr. Chair, unless a parent has declined to receive a copy or doesn't agree with the report and doesn't want a copy to exist, it just stays in the confidential student file. However, to your point, yes, when a report is completed, parents are provided that option for a copy, and that would be the case, I would say, almost 100% of the time. So it's not an option. Maybe we will or maybe we won't. We will provide a copy. It would only be a rare occasion where there's other discussions that are taking place about the report. Sometimes parents opt to not have that report associated with their child based on personal preferences, etc. And so we would be honoring always the parent voice in that process. But yes, it's not us deciding not to provide a report. It may be something related to a parent request.
Thank you, Superintendent Meehan. Ms. Benvenuto?
So this is taken to mean that parents have the option to not put it in the OSR? Could we clarify? Like, I did not understand that from this. Is there a way that we can clarify this statement? Because this says parents generally receive a copy of this report.
Well, it would be up to us to make that recommendation. That's why we review it. So if you want to make a recommendation to change the verbiage in there, we can do that right now.
Okay, yes.
That would be it.
Yes, I would like to make a recommendation to correct this sentence so that it is more clear for parents, for them to understand that they have the option to include it in the OSR or not, but that they will receive a copy of all reports.
Yes, so we're going to have to actually get the words exactly what we want. Yeah, so if you could email it to recording secretary or to me, either one. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. While you're doing that, is there anyone else who would like to bring up something on this section of the special education plan that we may make a recommendation? And was that the only thing that you had in it, or was there anything else? Ms. Benvenuto?
I had another question.
You have another question? Okay.
It's on page 19 under the assessment reports from other school boards.
Okay.
In there it says when the data is current, and I was just wondering what does current mean? Like, is it a year or, yeah, just to define that.
Superintendent Meehan?
Through you, Mr. Chair, that would be a determination by the particular clinician that is reviewing it. So there might be a difference between a speech and language report versus a behavior analyst report, an audiology report. Each one, from a clinical standpoint, there would be that determination by the clinician. Yes, based on the students, because it's not just the time that has elapsed between the report being created. It also may be relevant in terms of the student's age at the time that that was reported on. So all of those things are factored in with
Thank you, Superintendent Ian. Ms. Benvenuto?
Thank you, that clarifies that question.
Okay, thank you. So we'll give you a minute to finish that up, so we make a recommendation. I believe on these, correct me if I'm wrong, Superintendent Ian, we are making recommendations to staff, right? Not to board, since we have no trustees? Or are we making it to the supervisor? Who are we making this for the spec ed plan recommendations? Who are we recommending to?
So through you, Mr. Chair, I'm going to say that we're making this recommendation to staff because we have been doing that informally as part of the process in terms of adjusting and updating any of this documentation that goes into the plan. So I would suggest that probably is the process. If there's something that is outside of that would need to go to the supervisor, then we can make that recommendation directly to the supervisor.
Okay, very good. And are we going to be in order in the minutes if we do it that way? If we recommend to staff? Okay, we'll be good? Okay, perfect. You don't have to write the whole paragraph, just your changes. So while she's receiving that, you can read out your recommendation in the form of that SEAC. If you'd like to move that SEAC recommends to staff that we change. You can make that recommendation.
So SEAC would like to recommend to staff to edit the sentence on page 18 under the communication of results to parents. Instead of parents generally receive a copy of this report, to parents receive a copy of all reports that are placed in the OSR and have the option to include the assessment reports in the OSR.
Thank you. And would someone like to second that motion?
I'll second Michelle.
Thank you, Mr. Belchor. Any discussion? Any further discussion on the recommendation? Okay, very well. On that recommendation, the chair is in favor. Mr. Belcher?
In favor.
Thank you. Ms. Benvenuto?
In favor?
Thank you. Ms. Mason?
In favor.
Thank you. Ms. Master Giuseppe?
In favor.
Thank you. Ms. Seymour?
In favor.
Thank you. Very good. Excuse me. That brings us down to the next held item is item section 18A, staff development, held by Mr. Belcher. Mr. Belcher, it's yours.
Yes. So 18A is, I'll just turn to that page, just give me 1 second here. It's on page 34.
Okay.
So I have a question on the table, 2 questions on this table. In row 3, it says achievement, LHSP Professional Learning Series, Teacher TECT, 2-day workshop for LISISP teachers. I just want to know what's LHSP stand for and what's LI stand for?
Thank you, Mr. Belcher. Superintendent Ian, have you found that?
Through you, Mr. Chair, yes, just for clarity, we're on row 3, and actually, this is part of the professional learning plan, which I think is the next number related to staff development, but just for clarity as to where we are on the agenda.
Okay, so this is not part of staffing development. Okay, so that would be item 18B, Mr. Belcher, which you've also held. Did you have something on?
Oh, sorry, I went ahead of myself. I went ahead of myself here, sorry, staff development. Okay, sorry, just give me 1 second.
So I'm happy to respond to that question, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, can you go ahead with that
So
question?
we'll do 18B first. Sure, go ahead.
Yes, yes.
So I believe we're looking at professional learning plan, row 3, second column under initiative title. So LI stands for language impairment. So that is an exceptionality, a ministry exceptionality. ISP stands for intensive support program. As we were speaking earlier today, an intensive support program is a program for students who have the exceptionality, in this case, of a language impairment, and who require or who have determined through IQRC special education with partial integration or special education class full-time placement. The professional learning series was designed specifically to support those teachers in their role in instructing and programming for students with that exceptionality.
Thank you, Superintendent Mia and Mr. Belcher.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch, what was LI stand for? What did it stand for?
My apologies, through you, Mr. Chair. Language impairment.
Language impairment.
Okay, and another question on that same table. So I noticed that in the first row, there were 220 teachers that participated in that first workshop, which was corrective reading. And then the numbers the numbers reduced. So is there a reason, or is there any way, is there a reason why there's a high number for these particular workshops versus a lower number on the other workshops? What's the reason for the low attendance and high attendance?
Superintendent Mia, would you have any feedback?
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair. The number of teachers participating, each of the topics, we'll use the example of the LI ISP that I just explained. There are specific numbers of teachers who teach those programs. So this particular workshop was designed and prepared to support them in their role. So it would not be applicable to all teachers, but a very targeted audience. So each of these are targeted professional development sessions to support teachers in their role. Using the example of the corrective reading, this was designed for special education teachers who support reading intervention through the special education programming. There are many more of those teachers, and this is something that we offer to all of the schools to ensure that there was that training for those teachers. So each one, it again depends on the targeted audience, the number of people for whom this is relevant for their professional development.
Yeah, so not to jump on Mr. Belcher's thing, but so it's extremely targeted. It's not open to all teachers for professional development. It's only open to teachers who hold that specific role.
The examples that are given here, yes, these are targeted.
Thank you, Mr. Belcher.
Okay, thank you. That answers my question and explains it.
Anything further? Did you have a recommendation or just questions on that?
No, just a question. I just wanted to understand why the vast differences in numbers of teachers attending it. Thank you, that explains it.
Thank you. So anybody else with any discussion on 18B? Ms. Benvenuto?
Just because this is a table for parents, I guess SEAC would like to recommend a legend where we have these acronyms, where we, I guess, define the acronyms.
Okay, I guess the question is there somewhere in the special, we just lost our outro. Is there somewhere in the special education plan where all of these acronyms are captured and defined? There is?
Through you, Mr. Chair, there are other areas of the plan, but I think the point in the feedback is well taken, and I think in this context, even right within the body of this table, as opposed, and we generally avoid using the acronyms, but I think because of the table format, should be concise and to have it fit, but that's, if it's not communicating what we want it to, and if it's not easily understood, which we've seen tonight, it is not, that's good feedback for us to make sure that if we're going to use an acronym, that we have spelled it out on the same page or in the same context, the same document. So we have not done that here, and that's good feedback for the future.
So you don't need a formal recommendation, you're happy to take it on feedback?
Through you, Mr. Chair, yes, I think the feedback on its own here is noted, and when we share the next chart, we'll ensure that the acronyms are spelled out right on the chart. So even I think that's even better than having a legend that you have to refer back to and then go up again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's it, thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion on special education plan section 18B? So without recommendation on this, the motion would be a motion of receipt. Who would like to make that? Ms. Benvenuto, thank you. Is there a second?
Rochelle will second.
Thank you, Mr. Belcher. Any further discussion? Let's go. Very good. On the motion of receipt of item section 18B, the chair is in favor. Mr. Belcher?
In favor.
Thank you. Ms. Benvenuto?
In favor?
Thank you. Ms. Mason?
Favor.
Thank you. Ms. Masters-Giuseppe?
In favor.
Thank you. Ms. Seymour?
In favor.
Thank you. Which brings us back to item 18A, staff development section. And held by Mr. Belcher or Mr. Belcher?
Yeah, so that's on page 32. I just wanted to understand the third paragraph on that page 32. So it says that the annual funding is limited, so that's sixth line down in the third paragraph. And subsidies are based on a first come, first served basis. The specific funding continues to be available for the next 2 academic years. Could you explain that part? Is that to help with the board budget? Like, I'm trying to figure out this paragraph.
So thank you, Mr. Belcher, but the only thing I would say is that the special education plan, I don't believe changes because of budget, but Superintendent Ian?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I can clarify for the member what this is referencing, and I actually referenced it earlier today when I spoke about the fact that the ministry has provided dedicated funds to help offset not cost to the board, but cost to individual teachers who make the decision to take an additional qualification course from a set list that all relate to supporting students with special education needs. So this funding has been offered, and there's a certain amount that is given to each board, and we communicate out to teachers that this funding is available to offset their costs. They take the course. Upon completion of the course, they submit the fact that they have passed the course, and then that allows us to use this funds to reimburse them for, it's not just for special education, there are a few other additional qualification courses, but it goes towards the fees that they pay to take the course. So it is encouraging our teachers, and the good news is that, as I mentioned earlier, this is very popular. There's a lot of interest in special education.
Thank you, Superintendent Ian. Mr. Belcher?
Yes. So it says that the funding is limited and subsidies. So do these teachers get the full refund, or is it just a portion of it?
Superintendent Ian?
Through you, Mr. Chair, each of the ministry funding allocations, depending on the year and the course, is different. For this one in particular, it does cover the full cost of the course.
Thank you, Superintendent Ian. Mr. Belcher?
Thank you, Ms. Meehan. And then it also says that it's only available for the next 2 academic years. So what's the deadline for them to get this coverage?
Superintendent Ian?
Through you, Mr. Chair, it's on an annual basis, and the funding, of course, is not unlimited. So once we have had a number of applicants request the reimbursement, if the monies are spent, then there's the opportunity the following year to take a course the following year and to submit again. So all of the details around timing and process are communicated to teaching staff.
Thank you, Superintendent Ian. Mr. Belcher?
Okay, and can you give me some examples of what the courses are, like names or specific, like titles? Like, what are the teachers learning in these courses?
Superintendent Ian?
Through Through you, Mr. Chair. Yes, the most basic example that I could give would be the Special Education Qualification Course Part 1, the Special Education Qualification Course Part 2, and the Special Education Qualification Course, the Specialist Program. And within that, it's a variety of topics related to special education, everything from understanding individual learners to programming, understanding the development of individual education plans, strategies to support particular needs that are represented in different exceptionalities and so forth. So very applicable to not only the work that a special education teacher may do, but knowing that most of our students are in a regular class for either all, some, or part of the time, it is a great learning opportunity for all classroom teachers as well.
Thank you, Superintendent Ian. Ms. Melcher.
Okay, and I'd like to make a recommendation if I may.
Of course you can.
Can SEAC request the superintendent Ian to pass this information on through the principals to the school, to the teachers, just to let them know that this exists? Can that recommendation be made?
Well, the recommendation that we're making because of this portion of the agenda is we're making recommendations for board to change this aspect in the special education plan. Superintendent Ian.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I want to assure the member that that is our present process. So exactly what she has suggested, we communicate to the entire system. All of our teachers are made aware of this opportunity.
Mr. Melcher?
Okay, and can we get an update later on towards because it says the next 2 academic years, can we get an update as to how many teachers use these services towards the second year, towards the second academic year?
So I'm not sure that request in this context is in order. And the only reason I say that is let's remember what we're doing right now. We are reviewing the special education plan to make recommendations for board to make changes to that plan to submit to the ministry. Reporting back to us is not a feature of the special education plan.
Well, the reason why I say it is because we have very limited staff in terms of special education. So I just want to make sure that SEAC, that all the funds that the government is providing to the school community are being used usefully, right? So I just want to know, like, if what the government is doing is helping out the school community in terms of school teachers getting this education, if it's actually being fruitfully used or not.
So I think Executive Superintendent Fernandez has some response.
So through you, Mr. Chair, just want to reassure our member that all of the funds are expended for the purposes that they're set out for. So whether it's special education, whether it's math, whatever it is that the ministry happens to be funding, we expend all of the funds and usually have people who would end up in a wait list should there be more funds become available. So we don't have an issue with people taking the course and being refunded for it.
Right, and so that we're clear, these are not budget funds. These are ministry-provided funds in excess of our budget that they offer to teachers who want to upgrade their educational credentials.
That is correct. They're called responsive education and programming funds, and so they come in addition to whatever allocation is provided through core funding. So it's separate from that, and so we actually have to provide reporting separate from that back to the ministry to indicate that yes, we've reimbursed X number of people for whatever courses that they've submitted to us, and basically we've never, I don't think, had a year where we haven't basically fully expended the funds. Because if we don't expend them, they actually go back to the ministry. We don't get to keep them.
So for lack of better terms, we'll call them a grant. We'll call it a grant.
Similar to a grant, yes.
And this is public information, how much they make available to each board?
So this is something that is public information, so it is available. Ministry does report that publicly. Yes.
Okay. Mr. Belcher?
Okay, that's good news to hear. Thank you. That's what I wanted to hear. Thank you. That's it for me on this topic.
Thank you. So no recommendations on item 18A. Is there any further discussion? Very well. So the motion we would put forward here is to receive special education plan section 18A. Can I get that motion, please? Ms. Bevan-Arudo, thank you. Someone like to second that?
Second, Michelle.
Ms. Belcher, thank you. Any further discussion? On the motion to receive of section 18A, the chair is in favor. Mr. Belcher?
In favor.
Thank you. Ms. Bevan-Arudo?
In favor?
Thank you. Ms. Mason?
In favor.
Thank you. Ms. Master Giuseppe?
In favor.
Thank you. And Ms. Seymour?
In favor.
Thank you. And that brings us down to the last item on our agenda this evening, which is item 14A, Special Services Superintendent Update for April 2026, found on pages 35 to 37. With that, I will hand it over to Superintendent Meehan.
Through you, Mr. Chair, thank you. I'd like to begin with a focus on Autism Awareness Day, which took place on April 2nd. And the TCDSB does recognize World Autism Day. And in advance of the day, in order to prepare our communities for this focus, there is information shared by the Special Services Department, and it includes the following. There is a copy of a prayer for the day, announcements to be read over the PA, a poster to recognize the day, and activities with slide presentations for students from kindergarten to grade 12. We, of course, as a school board, remain committed to understanding, accepting, and including all of our autistic students in our school communities. And there is a website page on our public-facing website with a little bit more information about that. And I just wanted to highlight the little infinity symbol. That was actually a display created at one of the schools, and it reads, "Our garden is diverse, our flowers grow at different rates." And it was student prepared as part of the acknowledgement, as one example of an initiative that a school took on. On April 17th, our social work department will be welcoming EGAL. This organization is dedicated to inclusive practices to support our 2S LGBTQ individuals in our school board. It will be specifically designed to support our social workers using scenario-based examples. Clinical interventions will be informed by lived experience and student-centered approaches. As well, on April 1st, so this has happened already, an example of some targeted professional development, and we've talked about using some funding that we received this year for this purpose. This was for teachers of our behavior intensive support programs, and the focus was on universal design for learning, differentiated instruction, and de-escalation strategies. We also included information about the mentally healthy classroom and using assistive technology in these classrooms as well. There are a variety of items under the areas of mental health and psychology. One of the features that we had to meet the needs of our multilingual communities, we have social emotional learning posters, and these had been distributed to schools in English, and we offered to schools based on principal requests, so principals who know predominant languages in their community, to request posters in those languages so they could support identity affirming, mentally healthy schools. We also had staff meet with the guidance department heads from the secondary level, and they participated in the School Mental Health Ontario Mental Health Literacy course for guidance educators. This is a live multi-session facilitation model, so we've been working with the staff, providing live support for this learning. There were also many professional development sessions on creating mentally healthy classrooms. These have been integrated into each of our ISP, UDL and DI, Universal Design for Learning, and differentiated instruction programs that we have been running for staff. We also have had the Student Success Central Resource Teacher work with the secondary student success educators, and again, this is a focus on the mental health and well-being resources. So we're reaching out to groups based on their role and showing how the resources that we have available can support them in creating mentally healthy schools and classrooms. We've mentioned Project Search a few times, and I'd like to provide this update. So we talked about the period of time when we were exploring in community, looking for a business partner and a community partner, and we did find those two partners. SEAC Children's Hospital is our business partner, and Corbrook Awakenings is our community partner. And in collaboration with those two community partners, we have successfully launched our first year of Project Search. So we had a group of 8 students who participated in the program. It's a non-credit bearing internship program, and it's designed for students with an intellectual disability or developmental disability. And the sole purpose of the program, this is the last year that students will be attending in our board, and the real focus is getting them prepared for their pathway, which in this case for these students is the world of work. They have hands-on opportunities to work in a variety of departments within the Hospital for Sick Children, supported by our staff, and also the community partner helps focus on the next steps for seeking employment. And in anticipation of next year, we have already received applications and have met with 21 applicants for the program, which is great. There's a lot of interest. Part of the work that we do is we provide an in-service workshop for the families so they can understand what the program is, and then we send out applications. We invite the families to a session at the Hospital for Sick Children, where there are some activities that demonstrate the students' skills and appropriateness for the program. And then there's a process of using criteria to assess whether this program meets their needs or not, and whether they're a good fit and a good candidate, because it is very unique and specialized. And so we were really encouraged by the fact that we had so many that were interested, and we anticipate that we will have a full class next year. And we also are very excited for our students who will be graduating, and I can share that already, and we're not even at the end of the year, that 2 of our students have been offered employment, which is a great start. We haven't even finished the program, and they've already worked toward the achievement of what the program is ultimately set out to do. So very exciting, and we commend all of our TCDSB staff who have been supporting the program, the teacher, the job coach who was there, as well as our central staff who have been supporting in a variety of ways. And very excited for the cross-learning that has taken place with our community partner in the Hospital for Sick Children. It's interesting to hear different perspectives, and our real focus has been on building inclusive practices in terms of our teaching, but also within the hospital that is very centered on children, recognizing how we can use the skills that students are bringing forward. These are not patients, although some may have been. Probably many of our children have been patients at some point at SEAC Children's Hospital, but seeing them now as contributors to the work of the hospital, which has been very exciting. At this point, I would like to turn over to Executive Superintendent Fernandez to provide some updated information as was promised.
So through you, Mr. Chair, I did get a chance to bring this information back to our French department and review this with them. And what they provided was, in terms of French immersion programming, as related to EQA assessment, they provided information that the grade 3 FI students, so grade 3 French immersion students, liked the French immersion math assessment, so in French. They do not write either the French or the English assessment at the grade 3 level. Okay. In terms of grade 6, they write both the assessments in English, so both math and language are written in English. In grade 9, it's also written in English, and in grade 10, the OSSLT is also written in English. So the question had been, how was this decision made? How did it come to be? And it was a good This decision was made probably 20 plus years ago. The staff who were here at that time have been long retired, and so getting the information as to the reasoning why is not easy. Like we wouldn't have that information at this point in time. However, it is something that if we needed to look at, we could. We have looked at how our students do within the programming, and for those that we do, for those assessments we do put into place, that we do practice. But again, the information is what it is at this point in time, and I know that the member had asked why not, and we didn't have a reason as to why not, except that in the French immersion program, students are learning French in kindergarten, both junior and senior kindergarten, and then in grade 1 and 2. In grade 3 is the first year that they actually start looking at English. So English is offered for about 25% of the day, and so you've now changed the language of instruction in a particular area that would then be assessed. So the question would be then, what assessment would you provide? Would it be the English or would it be the French? And how fair is it to students to be able to write that assessment? And that was probably the reason why they were not writing the assessment, because now you're trying to assess, do you assess in French? And that's not the language of instruction in grade 3? Or do you assess in English, and they just started to receive that instruction in English at that point in time? So that was probably the determining factor. Now, whether we change that or not, that's something definitely that we could look at, but that was the understanding that I was able to get from the staff who basically work with this group of students.
Thank you for that combined update and rebrief on item from last month. So I need a motion to proceed on the update. Thank you, Ms. Benvenuto, and a seconder, Mr. Belcher.
Yeah, I second Michelle.
Okay, very good. So questions, Mr. Belcher, do you have a question?
Yes, thank you for that, to you, Mr. Chair, to Ms. Fernandez. I appreciate the answer, and that explains it. I just wanted to ask you though, that there is an option B that the board has to choose and look at and consider, where the testing can be done in English, because most of these students are English-speaking students who are obviously in French immersion. And I'll be putting a motion through in the next meeting to see if the board would consider looking at option B, which is testing the students in math through the French, I understand that the questions are in French for the math, but the English literacy and writing is in English, because these children speak English at home. They listen to English at home. They're already reading French by the time they're at grade 3. It's not like it's a different language like Sanskrit, but the symbols are different. It's the same lettering, it's the same sound. French and English, even grammatically, are different. It's the word that they're reading. So if we administer these tests in the English medium of instruction, and administer these tests in English, I would consider that as I would be strongly thinking of bringing that as a motion to the board, because that way gives parents a fair chance to see if their children need help in literacy and writing, because right now they'd have to wait till grade 6 to figure that out. And of course, it also gives a fair statistics when you're giving out the results for each school on how the children are doing equally, and it gives all the children a fair chance at the literacy and writing part of it if you provide it in English.
Mr. Belcher, I think that's a good question. I'm going to hand it over, but I only just wanted to remind you that given the vast multicultural society we live in Toronto, assuming that English is the first language at home would be incorrect. We have Spanish first language at home. We have Ukrainian first language at home. We have Russian first language at home. So our French immersion students aren't necessarily coming from an English first language family. So with that, I'll hand it over
through you, Mr. Chair, you are correct. That is definitely things that need to be taken into consideration. And I do understand, I mean, it's always the member's option whether or not they're putting in some kind of motion or recommendation. What I would suggest, though, if there is a motion of any kind, that it would allow us to actually review what that would look like. So having the member say, do it in English or do it in French, I think either one would be problematic without us giving due consideration to why we would do it in a specific language and what would be the most appropriate given what the student is experiencing in the school. So I would just caution on that. I don't have an answer at this point because it's not something that we're contemplating in terms of an answer. However, should that recommendation be made, I would hope that there would be consideration to actually have those conversations with our staff and to understand what would be the best language to be assessed in given the experience that those students are having in their school communities. So if they're speaking French, maybe French is the better language to assess in and not English. So I just want to put that out there as a possibility so that it is taken into consideration should the member decide to do anything with it.
Thank you, Executive Superintendent Fernandez. Mr. Belcher?
The reason why I say it is because according to the EQOA website, and I'll send Ms. Fernandez an email, and there's some sample testing. Apparently option B, the literacy and writing tests are offered in English. Option A is all French. Option B, you've got the literacy and writing in English. And then option C is just math, right? So the board chose C, so I was wondering if the board could look into option B as a recommendation from SEAC to give parents who are parents of French immersion students a fair chance of getting an idea of how well their children are doing in the literacy and writing part, and to give them a fair chance instead of waiting until grade 6 for that assessment to take place. That's the only reason why I'm asking for it in English, because that's what's offered by the EQOA and the government, that option B, that the written test is in English, if I'm not mistaken from what I looked at the website.
Thank
On
you,
the
Mr.
website.
Belcher. Executive Superintendent Fernandez?
So through Mr. Chair, that is correct. We are doing option C at this point. And I understand members asking us to potentially may ask in the future to look into option B. Again, we would take that away. We would have to review the whole thing and we wouldn't just look at one specific area. But I do bring to your attention the fact that we are doing assessments. So reading screening that is happening now on a regular basis, starting in kindergarten all the way to grade 2. So we do have some indicators of how students are doing, and then we're also looking at report cards in terms of how they're doing on assessments that are happening in the classrooms. So it's not like we don't have any data. We do have data already on these students, and a lot more data than we would have had prior to the screening process that is now in place.
Thank you, Executive Superintendent Fernandez. Mr. Belcher?
Okay, yeah, because we don't get those results when you submit your results for the EQOA testing. I believe the French immersion students are never in those results, at least until grade 3.
Executive Superintendent Fernandez?
So just for clarification, which results are you speaking about? The EQAO or the reading screening?
Mr. Belcher?
Yeah, the EQOA results. Like,
So,
you know how you give us those bars and graphs,
yes.
explain how TCDSP's been doing in terms of the rest of the population?
So through you, Mr. Chair, the graphs that we provide are based on students who write the EQAO. That's the data that we have. We can only show the data that based on the students who wrote.
So, Mr. Belcher, the question I would have is, I understand what your questioning is in regards to the French immersion and the EQAO. Now, Executive Superintendent Fernandez has already kind of said that there is some screening that's happening on an individual student basis. So, how, I'm just trying to understand what value that information would be to SEAC.
Well, we don't get those results, right? Because it's only an individual educational stuff, because the EQAO only does the testing on the English students, and to be fair...
Don't forget, the EQAO results that we are interested in are our special education students, whether it's French immersion or English, is irrelevant to us. We want to know, how are the special education students testing in EQAO? Right?
From what I understand is those results of the EQAO is the TCDSP students in general, and then we get another breakdown of the special education students. So there are special education students in the French immersion program that are being left out, and that's my concern.
In the grade 3 cohort.
Yes, so that they're not being assessed in terms of literacy and writing, just in math. And then by the time they wait till grade 6, it's too late for that parent to realize, okay, you know, maybe my child needs a little bit of help in this particular.
And that's the part I'm trying to clarify, where the parent of the student is concerned. What Executive Superintendent Fernandez is trying to portray to us is that they do some screening and that information is shared between teacher and parent. So on the individual basis, is Executive Superintendent Fernandez, am I understanding that that is the case?
Through you, Mr. Chair, that is correct. So on the report card that students receive at home, they receive information as to whether the student is meeting benchmark for reading or not, for the grades for which that screening must take place.
And that's on the individual basis, not the cohort. The cohort information is exempt because it's not in the actual EQA.
So this is an assessment that's outside of the EQAO parameters. So it would be, we obviously use that information to determine where students need support and how we can support them. So that information that we collect, it's given to parents on an individual basis through the report card, but we do look at that data to determine what students need additional support and how do we intervene with those students as per the Right to Read report in terms of whether it's level, a tier 2 or tier 3 intervention at the school level. So we do use that information to inform what our next steps are, and we use our reading facilitators, our early reading facilitators, to actually put some of those steps into place in schools to help support and make sure that students are progressing.
Thank you. Mr. Belcher?
Yeah, I get that point, but what I'm saying is, when we get the results from the EQO, we get a breakdown with those bars and charts. But it's the students who are in the French immersion that don't get tested for grade 3. We get the breakdown for only the English students. So I just want to make sure that everyone, there's no inequality happening, and that everyone is being tested at the grade 3 level as well for reading and writing, even though if it's based on an individual basis. When we get those results for the EKO starting next year, if the board does consider option B, that we also consider the French immersion students.
So I believe you have, I think that you have a pending notice of motion for next month's agenda that might address that.
Yes, I believe so, but I'm going to send an email to Ms. Fernandez just to give her examples of what the English tests look like for option B. And then, we can discuss it further before that motion is presented next meeting.
Okay, very good. Any further questions for Superintendent's plural update? Okay, very good. So the motion on the floor is a motion of receipt of the Superintendent's update. And on that, the chair is in favor. Mr. Belcher?
In favor.
Thank you. Ms. Benvenuto?
In favor?
Thank you. Ms. Mason?
In favor.
Thank you. Ms. Master Giuseppe?
In favor.
Thank you. And Ms. Seymour?
In favor.
Thank you. And I believe that brings us to the conclusion of our agenda. And with that, we're going to go to a closing prayer. Okay, so I'll ask everyone to stand, please. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this time together. Bless the decisions made and the insights shared. As we leave, grant us wisdom to act with integrity, your peace in our hearts, and your presence to guide our steps forward. May our work glorify your name. In Jesus' name, amen. And And with that, I will ask for a motion to adjourn. Ms. Benvenuto, can I get a seconder?
Gloria will second.
Thank you, Ms. Master Giuseppe. Any discussion on adjournment? No? Okay, on adjournment, the chair is in favor. Ms. DeBelshore?
In favor.
Thank you. Ms. Benvenuto?
In favor?
Thank you. Ms. Mason?
In favor.
Thank you. Ms. Master Giuseppe?
In favor.
Thank you. And Ms. Seymour?
Favor.